Hello, and welcome to the DC Overlord channel. I am the DC Overlord. Today we are going to be talking about what I would do for a future Justice League. So this takes place like centuries into the future. Most of the league probably dead. Some of them still alive, but probably retired. And these are my picks for what I think would make a really good new league. Now, some of these might be a little bit far-fetched. It kind of depend on the timeline they were dealing with, and potentially there would also be room for new characters to insert themselves into the running in. But let's start with the new Batman, which of course would be none other than Batman Beyond. Terry McGinnis would be the perfect pick for a new Batman. He literally becomes Batman in his stories, and it honestly would make a lot of sense because the others would likely either retire or they would be occupied with their own missions to the point where the one who would really take the mantle of Batman would be Terry McGinnis. Let's not make any mistake, okay? Jason, great, but he would probably be the Red Hood, you know. Dick Grayson, great, but he'd probably be Nightwing, and honestly probably retired even. And so, in this case, Terry McGinnis would be the perfect pick to take up the mantle. Then we have our next pick, which would be Static Shock, kind of bringing in a little bit new flavor, a little bit new taste, a little bit of electricity. I think Static Shock would be a perfect choice. He's often seen in Batman Beyond as a kind of a next pick, and I think an older Static Shock would be absolutely league material, absolutely league worthy. And then we would go into our next pick, which would be Jessica Cruz. Now, there's a couple of lanterns that you could pick from, and you could also argue that Jessica might even age out, and someone else might take the reign, and that would be fine. But I think out of between Kyle Rayner and Jessica Cruz and even Simon Baz, I definitely think Jessica is the right pick because I feel like the others would kind of go off and do their own thing. Maybe they would even go into space, kind of oversee other sectors. And so I would see Jessica as the main Green Lantern in 2814. So that's kind of the vision that I would have for that. And then moving on to the next pick, we would have John Kent becoming Superman. It's a classic story, but it makes sense. The reason why you wouldn't go Connor is because Connor is kind of doing his own thing. He's Superboy, and even kind of struggles with the idea of even becoming Superman, especially since he doesn't share the exact same power sets. And with Kara's probably out with the Legion of Superheroes, so she's not really going to be part of the League. She's going to be a part of the Legion of Superheroes, which would be completely different. Then we would have the next pick, which would be Donna Troy taking the mantle of Wonder Woman. Once again, Donna Troy needs some proper representation, okay? She needs some proper love and respect, and she is the perfect one to take the reins of Wonder Woman. She's done it before. She did it when Diana was out of commission, when she was kind of under wraps, especially after Infinite Crisis. And honestly, at this point, Diana probably would retire. She would probably be leading Themyscira even. If she'd be the queen of Themyscira, so she wouldn't really need to leave the island, and she wouldn't have that capability of doing so. And even though they're all kind of immortal anyways, I feel like eventually Diana might even die in battle, and Donna would be able to take that reign. The reason why I wouldn't choose Cassie for it is because Cassie, again, I feel like Cassie at some point is just going to do her own thing. She might even take her own identity and kind of spin off of Wonder Girl. I don't really see her becoming Wonder Woman. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Cassie could become Wonder Woman. It's just that I feel like there's like other potential for her. Then we would go into our next pick, which would be Miss Martian. I definitely think Jean, of course, he's not gonna die, but Jean is going to kind of become at an age where he just wants to leave everything behind, live a normal life, and so Megan would definitely take the next step in becoming basically the Martian Manhunter um, of her world. And so she could be Miss Martian, she could be Martian Manhunter. It doesn't really matter. Or she could just be called like the Martian. I think that would be kind of interesting. But I definitely think she would be the obvious pick for a new Manhunter, a new Martian. I definitely think that she would be the obvious pick. Then we would have Raven, a little bit of different twist. Raven entering the Justice League. I definitely think Raven would make the most sense as kind of a magical entity, kind of making her way into the Justice League. I think she absolutely deserves the chance to be in the Justice League, especially with all the sacrifices that she gives to the Titans and everything else. I definitely think Raven would be really meshing well with these characters as well. And even though, the Titans would kind of still be around, let's be honest, a lot of them would probably die in battle or die of old age. And so Raven would kind of be left on her own, and she'd be wanting a new family, a new group to hang out with. And that could easily be the new Justice League. And then we would kind of segue our way into Aquaman, which would now be Calderon. Arthur would potentially be still ruling Atlantis, assuming that he's even alive. But eventually he would kind of retire altogether, and Calderon would be the perfect choice to go for in terms of who's going to replace him, who's going to be next in line. They were never... It depends on whether or not they're successful in actually having a child of their own. I doubt it. And even if they do, the new child could be... honestly the king of Atlantis, and then Calderon could just be the face of Aquaman. He could just be Aquaman, not necessarily the king of Atlantis as well. Then we would have the next choice, which would be Wallace West. You might have suspected that I would choose Impulse, but I feel like Bart eventually would take the mantle of the Flash. But I feel like it would make more sense for Bart to take the mantle of Impulse and kind of lead his own direction. Bart kind of doesn't seem to be much of a team player anyways. I feel like Bart is kind of like a solo man, or maybe like with his sister, but not really with like the League. I feel like that's where Wallace would take the mantle, and he would become the Flash. And honestly, I really like that idea of Wallace just being able to take that next step forward in becoming a hero, becoming a big member of the League, and especially since we're going the Wallace direction rather than the Wally direction. Because at some point originally, right, Wally was kind of the main person to be in the Justice League, but I think now that we have Wallace taking over for him, it would just kind of be like the next progression after Barry Allen. It just kind of makes sense that Wallace would eventually become the Flash on his own. And so those are my picks for the future Justice League. These are the League of the Future. This is what I think. What do you think? Do you agree with me, or do you disagree? I don't know, right? Do you have other picks of who you would include in the future Justice League? Like, this is like a league where like Superman might be dead, Batman might be like retired and dead. It's like all these guys are gonna get older at some point, and so at some point someone's got to like take the reins. And I honestly would be interested in kind of exploring stories about kind of like a future league where the the main group is kind of retired or doing their own thing now, and they're not really part of the league, and so there has to be new people to take the reins. Another kind of honorable mention, I guess, I didn't really include it, but potentially you would have like Shazam and the Shazam family kind of involved with the league as well. Specifically, maybe Mary Marvel. But who knows? It kind of depends. I feel like some characters work really well as taking up their own mantles, taking up their own identities, like Nightwing and Barbara and everyone else. It's like some people really kind of progress into kind of more independent direction, and others are more of like a team player. I definitely think I picked those people to be more of a team player, but who knows? Maybe you think I'm wrong. Feel free to comment below. Make sure to subscribe for more content like this. And thank you guys for watching. This has been the DC Overlord. And I'm going to be signing out right now.